Hello again everybody, and welcome to today's talk, which is the second in the series which are bird related. Yesterday was Roman eagles, today something rather different. We're going to look at, or I'm going to talk about Aristophanes' play The Birds, which was produced and presented for the first time in the spring of 414 BC at the City Dynasty Festival in Athens. It was entered into a competition, and although modern scholars regard it as an almost perfectly constructed fantasy play, it didn't win. It came second. And the play which won, which was by a writer called Amapsias, not a single word of his winning play survives. So the vagaries of history, eh? Anyway, what was happening in Athens at the time? The Sicilian expedition had just set off, and it had not yet turned disastrous as it was going to. Alcibiades, posh dilettante boy, had not yet changed sides and gone to Sparta, and he'd not decided to consort with the Persians either. We're still a few years away from the right-wing oligarchic revolution, which proved so disastrous for Athens also. So it was quite a good time for Athens. People were feeling quite positive, and into this came Aristophanes. So what happens in the play? Well, after the first scene of the usual puns and bits of slapstick and a few political asides, comes the central idea. An Athenian, who's the hero of the play, who's called Pace the Tyros, which means the trusty friend, decides that he's unhappy with life in Athens, and he persuades some birds, especially the character of the hoopoe bird, who was formerly King Tereus, to build a city in the sky and to install themselves as rulers, to ignore the Olympian gods. There's various knockabout gags to do with that, but Nephelococyggia, which is Cloudcuckooland, or the city in the clouds, starts to take shape. There are stock characters who turn up, who want to be admitted, and they're rejected. So, for instance, the stereotype unpopular people, sycophants sucking up to leaders and important people, people who beat their own fathers, and terrible poets. All of these get turned away. The Olympian gods turn up, and they want to be admitted, but they're mocked, and they're denied entry. Pace the Tyros and Euelpides, his mate, whose name means good hope, are then turned magically into birds, and they are allowed to enter Cloudcuckooland, and they go off rejoicing at the end of the play. What's this all got to do with us? Well, it seems pretty remote and pretty unlikely, and maybe to the Athenians at the time it seemed sufficiently unlikely, and that's maybe why I didn't win the competition that year. But I've been wondering today, when I've been thinking about this, whether we might look at this as a kind of metaphor for Britain and Europe. There have been lots of complaints about politicians and people saying, oh, we don't want to be part of this anymore, we want to go off and set up something else different, we want to be independent. To cut ourselves off effectively from Europe, to build walls around ourselves, to make sure that we are in control. We have taken back control of our own city, perhaps. So we built walls to shut out others, real or imaginary, and everyone in it is happy. Except that it's actually a fantasy land, and everybody knows it can never really happen like that. It is, after all, Cloudcuckooland. Now, I wouldn't want you thinking that I'm being over political today, but I think you should just, as I read a few lines from near the end of the play, wonder whether you might imagine perhaps Boris and Carrie featuring in this. This is the heavenly herald who arrives to a great fanfare, and he's sort of celebrating the new land of the birds. And he says, "O feathered race of birds, O lordly ones, thrice blessed are ye this day. Tongue cannot name, mind cannot conceive the grandeur and the bliss that now are yours. Receive your king, and bid him welcome to his happy realm. No golden gleaming star, no piercing ray of sun ever shone with such splendour as he who now approaches. At his side a wife of unmatchable beauty, in his hand the winged thunder of Zeus. High into the deeps of heaven a delicious fragrance rises as the coil of incense smoke drifts on the breeze, a beautiful sight. Behold, he comes! Now raise your voices in songs of good omen, and let the muse be heard. Well, whether Aristophanes knew about the coming of Boris or not, it's an amusing thought, I think you'll agree.